everybody, and welcome to the Saturday night MNSpiritCast. Hopefully, you guys are all doing very well. I'm here with my right-hand man, Casey. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. So we are coming at you live tonight with a fantastic episode of MNSpiritCast, and our guest has been very flexible with us. So we're excited that he's here on the show. And we are talking about the state of Rhode Island tonight. But before we get into that, we're going to talk to you a little bit about our sponsors of Dubby Energy, the energy drink powder that will just help you get that little kick that you need to get through the day. So check it out, Dubby Energy. We don't have a code to supply it for you guys, but there's always great deals on the Dubby Energy website, which you can find below. And then we got our Schneider Customs, anything you could ever need, t-shirts, hats, mouse pads, all kinds of stuff. Customize, that's the place to find it. We got a couple more, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the show. We're not going to keep our guests waiting too long. We got Facebook user. Hello. Everybody, welcome James Annitto from Ocean State Paranormal. Right? Ocean State Paranormal.
Nope, not Ocean State Paranormal. It's all right.
I am thinking of a totally different team from Rhode Island.
Yeah, you're thinking of Buddy Thayer, Joey Brichard, and all them. They're a great bunch of people. I've worked with them many times in the past.
Why am I thinking you're from Ocean State Paranormal? I saw Ocean State in my intro. And I'm like, yeah, Ocean State Paranormal. That's the one. Anyway.
So. I've worked with them a bunch of times. Great team, though. Good shout out. Buddy Thayer. I was just on his podcast not too long ago with my partner, Father Bob Bailey. So, hey, good way to introduce a great team from this beautiful state.
We'll get a little branding in there for another team. This Facebook user says, I've been to the Conjuring House 6 times. Now, I haven't even been once, and I hear some great stories about the Conjuring House.
Yeah.
And would love to visit, but never have been there. So, James, let's talk a little bit about yourself and what you do in the paranormal field. And if my computer will work with me here, I could get our banners and stuff going. But anyway, let's hear a little bit of history about who you are, what you do, what's the story behind why you do paranormal.
Yeah, so, my name is James Annitto. I'm a paranormal investigator and researcher, have been in the field, will be 20 years in June. I specialize in demonology, and I am co-founder of a group in Rhode Island or the New England region called Presidium Wars of St. Michael, which is co-founded with Father Bob Bailey of the Roman Catholic Church.
Okay.
As a demonologist, I basically seek out or sought out the cases that more people don't want to deal with, most people that don't want to deal with because it's a little bit above their grade. I've also been ordained a deacon, formerly, of course, a deacon of the Old Catholic Church, and was an ordained minister of the Church of Christ. I also have, as of August, will have my psychology degree. And, I've been on a very long road in the paranormal field. I have been lecturing and speaking on the topic of demonology and the paranormal for over 12 years, all over the country. I've also been to Romania and led a tour over there for 12 days, following the footsteps of Vlad the Impaler. So I've done quite a bit, and it's been a journey. I haven't reached my destination yet, but as far as what got me into the paranormal, it's not the feng shui story that everybody tends to tell. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I never had a paranormal experience. For people that have followed me, understand that what got me into this was childhood trauma. And my childhood trauma stems from many different things. But really, when I was adopted by a family that was very Christian in the sense of going to Lutheran church every Sunday. And when I started to become more cognitive and understanding of my surroundings and what was being said, I really kind of foretook my story of what had happened to me as a child and started questioning the ideologies of the church and the teachings of God. and really was what paved my way to the paranormal. I don't want to take the whole show talking about it because we have so much to talk about Rhode Island, so much of what I do specifically, but that paved the way of an introduction in my early youth. And then I started paranormal investigating when I was around 14, 15 years old. Cusp of 15, because when I turned 15 in June is basically was the full-fledged. That's why I say 20 years in June. But, I've really been very, very fascinated with this field. And, it's taken a big part of my life and what I do. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me and a little bit about my introduction to the paranormal. I can promote all the great shows that I watched, such as Scooby-Doo and Unsolved Mysteries in Search of, which did help pave a way as well, because I think for many of us that were 90s, 80s babies, really could, even 70s, because that's what's in Search of was around with Leonard Nimoy. But, it's a smorgasbord of things that really kind of indulged my interest into this. And I never thought I would be this far to the level that I've gotten, and I don't say that in any bad way or any egocentric way, but I never thought that one question that I had would pave a road that it has. And it's been very exhilarating. I can say it's been a roller coaster ride, many ups and many downs, but I would have never changed anything about it.
Of course. Now, so you've been investigating for a while, obviously. Now, if we can do this, let's rewind back to your very first case. Do you remember your very first investigation? How'd that go?
Well, yeah. So when I was a kid, 14, 15 years old, I do remember, I have a very shoddy memory in the sense because I'm a squirrel brain. So like a lot of things are processing at the same time. But, I definitely verbatim remember my first investigation. It was a place called the Lad School here in Rhode Island, which was famously known as, an insane asylum or a rehabilitation facility. Basically, it had shut down, right? So it was private property. And of course, I did things that I wasn't supposed to do as a child, but I was respectful. I wasn't going there defacing. I wasn't going there damaging. I was going in there with an inquisitive mind and trying to not one, be scared, but at the same time also gain answers to my questions. But yeah, Lad School, me and a bunch of friends went there. Luckily I had friends that could drive. So, they brought us there. And basically, it was very dangerous because it was very dilapidated. They let the buildings go. Now they're gone. Now they demolished them all. And it's a barren wasteland. I think they built some stuff on it, but I haven't been there in a very long time. But yeah, no. So we were, trustling around through the building, and of course, when you're young, you're gullible. So of course, I believe I had at that time come across things. We felt like a wheelchair was in one spot, and then it was in another spot when we came back, which could happen many different forms of ways through physical interaction, movement, infiltration of air. Wheelchair actually can move pretty easily with a slight gust. And so now how I look back at it is I don't really take anything as legitimate. I think it was us more gullible and us being more imaginative to the surroundings. But I remember that first moment because it really kind of was intriguing being in a dark building. And of course there was the excitement that I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do. I think that always will follow us to a degree.
Got right? Adrenaline going.
So, that adrenaline definitely was pumping. But so I do remember it. Like I said, I can't really say I got anything that would be. And and too, when I first started, the equipment now we have nowadays, it was nothing like that. I was with an analog tape recorder, an old camera in the sense of a film camera. We had to get it sent out and get it kind of made through Fuji for it to be then shipped back to the place that you were, or your host at your house, and like a flashlight. And so, that was a lot of my early investigating. Now we have all these Tascam digital recorders and SLSs and REM pods and EMF meters. Like when I first started, like EMF meters were utilized, but for people that actually had money, because now you can garnish them and get them much cheaper. But back then, like K2s and shack boxes and stuff like that, really were unheard of. Utilized by the inquisitive. Now the paranormal's everywhere. So the ability to get these tools or these pieces of equipment are much more illustrious for anybody involved than when I first got involved nearly 20 years ago.
Right. And, nowadays, paranormal equipment is more expensive than I wish it were. However, you can make paranormal equipment out of almost anything. I've seen people, those little things back in early 2000s, late 90s or whatever, like that. It's like a handheld radio and you could put a cassette in there.
Yeah, it's a tape recorder.
I've seen people, make a spirit box out of one of those. Yeah. Put a cassette in there, push record, and they would go back and listen to their EVPs that were on that cassette. So, you can get around the paranormal field on a budget. You can.
Yeah.
But you also have the factor where you have to pay for some of these venues you go to as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, a lot of my early life too of doing this was a lot of Harry Price, Hans Holzer approach. I read a lot about Harry Price in my early times, and of course Hans Holzer, a legend. But Harry Price used to use bells on doors, baby powder. Used to use a lot of physical applications that could be attempted to be manipulated by an unknown, unseen force. So that really was what I utilized a lot, and still to this day, that's what I tend to use. A lot of the bells and whistles stuff. My original degree program and my original vocational program in high school was in computers and networking. So I get to the degree of the idea, and now I'm in construction as a project manager. But now I get a little bit of an understanding of a lot of these pieces of equipment and how they've been developed and why they were developed, and so a lot of them are fan friendly to me in the sense that I use them. Like, I think they're great for thrill seekers, but for a thorough paranormal investigation at a client's house, which is my bread and butter, it's not something that I would use because to me it's gimmicky. But I also understand the reason people use these red lights and bells and whistles, because it's intriguing, especially for a public investigation or for a venue, like you said. I think more people can relate to that than certain other approaches. But I'm not against it. I use them as well, so I can't be the oxymoron and say I don't use them. I do a lot of public events, and I do a lot of venues for people and raising charitable money for people, for historical societies. And that's what people want to see. So you have to give them what they want to see, because they're the paying consumer. And, if I did it the way I did it, sometimes it could be thoroughly boring. A lot of us have done private investigations where it's thoroughly boring, and it's just sitting around for a long time until there's something, and sometimes there's nothing. So, there is a difference in spectrum between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter. I really believe that.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So with the point, and I say this I feel like a broken record on every single show every week, but I want everybody to get a very clear understanding of why I am continuing on with this show. With the ALL American Paranormal Tour, we're making a stop in each of the 50 states with the ALL American Paranormal Tour, because we want each state to know that there are paranormal investigators and demonologists and all kinds of different people out here that are willing to help them without judging them or laughing at them or poking fun of them and think they're absolutely crazy. So, with the whole point of Minnesota Spiritcast, the All American Paranormal Tour, we're asking questions of what you will do during an investigation. What do you have to offer these people if somebody should call you or something like that? So my question to you is, I want to run through your investigation process, how all that goes, what the setup will look like if a client were to reach out to you. So, because you said private investigations are your bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially for us, when it comes to a private investigation, we've done a teeny tiny apartment before. So it was all about strategy of who I needed to take. I could only take a few team members because the apartment was so little I couldn't fit a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people into it. But I want to run through your process so people can see what it's like to have an investigation from you and what kind of stuff you'll help them with. So I want to start by asking, do you have a pre-investigation process that you got to complete before you do the investigation?
Yeah, I do, and especially even before I was co-founding PWSM with Father Bob Bailey, who's been in 31 years of ministry work for the Roman Catholic Church, which in itself, is very honorable to work with somebody like that. And but even before that, with other groups that I've run, I usually do have a pre-investigation process. Usually, it's a questionnaire that's pretty long. And the reason I do that is because I definitely want to understand every little detail that I can. So to start my process out, usually I'm contacted through email or through a Facebook Messenger. So either if it's a group or an individual, a lot of times it's an individual group, but I still, I will take what they give me, and then I will also do my own process as well. So my first process is an email interview. So when I say email interview, I will send that questionnaire through email. They will fill it out. I will receive it. I will review it. And then I will send a phone call or a voice over IP a phone call, video chat. And I will then go over that questionnaire again. And then I will, as long as there's not too many red flags and there's areas that I have to really get through before I go there. Like if I feel like my team will be in danger or I'll be in danger, usually then I will at that phone call interview, we'll find out when they're available, what fits into our schedule. Then we will have a physical interview of the same questionnaire. So that questionnaire is gone through 3 different times. And the reason is for that is because I want to make sure that the person's telling the truth, following the same story, and not adding any little very additive details throughout that process. Because somebody that really wants help and is very honest and truthful will give you the whole story up front. And if things happen after those points, then they will add saying this happened to me. And usually what I will have them do is I will have them fill out a journal with dates, times, when this happened. So when I'm physically there, I can review this journal. And in that same process with that physical interview, we will do a preliminary investigation, such as doing EMF sweeps. So I'll have one person go do EMF sweeps, check the breaker box, check the GFIs. I will have one person, of course, set up a video camera and audio recorder while we're doing that interview. And then I also will have somebody take pictures and video of the surroundings. So at the whole property, outside and inside, room to room. The little details are in that. Maybe you'll catch something through videography or photography. And then basically, if it gets to the point, we will then ask, we'll do EVP sessions away from the family. So we're not adding any conjecture to them or any other things that they can feed off of. We will ask neutral oriented questions. Why are you here? Why are you here? Who are you? Just to try to get kind of a little of a detail or introduce some of the client's situation into to the questions, like why are you doing this? Why this time? So we will do that. And then usually, if the client wants it, that even that preliminary investigation, I will do a crossing over, a house blessing, because it makes them feel comfortable. And if after that first visit, if they feel like that didn't help, of course, we'd go back a second time, do a little bit more of a thorough investigation, do the same procedure in the sense of investigating, asking questions, doing videography, photography, still photography, and then of course do a crossing over and blessing again. And then eventually, of course, if we realize that the client isn't fostering our advice, then I have a prolific talk with the homeowner, the business owner, and saying, hey, we gave you these tools, we gave you this food for thought. You haven't, and sometimes they're not honest, but by the little spectrum of details that they kind of elaborate on, you can understand if they are following your advice or not following your advice or implementing some of it. So, there's so many times I can beat my head against the wall. I will give them all the necessary tools. I will give them the necessary investigation to try to collect that data. And I also will elicit something of a cleansing or a crossing over to alleviate them, give them some aid. Even if there's nothing there, I will still do that as a placebo effect to comfort them, and then be able to separate and say, okay, we did this, you're good. And usually that will work for somebody that is placebo oriented, because, in their mind now, okay, it's gone, right? So that's a little bit of a nutshell, my procedure. But like you said, it depends on the size of the location. My group right now is a size of 6, and everybody has a specific detail of their position. We have researcher, we have investigator, medical staff. We have an administrator / prayer director. We have Father Bob and myself, and then we have a case manager. And some of those people, fit in and out as an investigator as well. But we have a pretty set group of roles or scope of work, just so people aren't stepping over each other, and we're not unprofessional in that circumstance or that situation. So some of my cases have gone on for months, years. Some of them are one and done. I'm not a data collector too much anymore. I do believe exists to what the answer is of what it is. Fundamentally that can be theorized, and there's no empirical evidence to note what it is. But, I've come across enough stuff where I can say I understand something exists. But where that shifts is in a demonic case, I tend to more find out what the cause and effect is, because there's usually trauma prevalent in those cases. And to handle the preternatural forces that are at play, you have to handle the trauma as well. You can't deal with one and not deal with the other, because if you deal with one and not the other, it'll just formulate again. It'll just happen again. So those are more in a sense kind of deciphered and worked upon more than just a traditional haunt or something that might just be traditionally negative or benevolent or benign. My structures vary on the variation of case, but traditionally, my pre-procedure to the physical aspect of it will be the same.
Sure. Now, when you're on an investigation, what makes your investigation more unique than the next? Because each investigation has their own properties. We all know that ours have their own properties. But what makes your investigations stand out from our investigations?
I don't like to be cross-competitive and say mine are different than yours or mine is better than yours. I think I bring a different facet than most people. I'm very eclectic in the sense of my approach. Sure. I have worked with many classical trained and respected demonologists. So when I'm usually brought into a case, it's because of my expertise. I don't like the term expert, but it is an expertise or a specialty.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that I'm brought into the more difficult cases that a lot of teams don't want to deal with, or they deal with and then they get burnt from doing them. Sure. Because it's playing with fire. And I'm not saying I'm impervious to fire play at all, but I also have a different lifestyle. I have a prayer life. I do work with like somebody like, not to keep repeating them, but work with Father Bob or work with other people like-minded to him. And I also, I feel like that my longevity of experience in my caseload is what brings a different element to it. But I don't, like I said, I think one of the great things about the paranormal is even if they're right or wrong, group wise or individual wise, you're going to learn something from them, do or do not. So I think it's very compelling to learn from as many people as you can, because the field is so open ended. But I feel like I have a niche in the market in this say. And there's not many legitimate demonologists. There's a lot of people that call themselves that, unfortunately, but there's not a lot of people that have actually been mentored or have actually put the time and effort through the academic aspect of it, or through instead of reading one or two books and thinking they're a specialist. I put that time and effort in, being ordained twice, having a psychology degree, working with the necessary people, building a team of different facets, having that medical staff, and working with the psychiatry field and the psychology field, the social science field. I work with a parapsychology group too out of New England, Canada, called PPRI. They're led by two doctors of social science. So I work with a bunch of people that I can utilize so many tools. That's why I feel like my avenue is a little bit different, but at the same time, I can't be cross-competitive because we all do something good. The one thing that scares me, though, there are people out there, and this is not bad-mouthing anybody, but speaking facts. There are people out there that mean to do well, but do more harm. And that's the thing I'm cautious about. Those are the things that I try to warn clients about. And also, too, one of the big niches, one of the big things that I dislike is if people are charging. I never charge a dime. I pay my own way. I pay my own lodging if I have to, or I'll sleep on the couch if I need to. My team as well will sleep in the area of the living room. Be wary of people that charge. Be wary of people that nickel and dime you. I've had clients that have lost over $10,000, $5,000, thousands of dollars because they've been kind of led into believing that they're the way to deal with the situation, though even after a dozen times, they're still dealing with it and still paying the money. So, I think that's why my approach is different. But I'm not saying it's better either. But, like I said, not to beat the dead horse, but, people call me in most specifically most of the time due to my specialties. So, and I think that's a hat I can put on my head and say it's something that's beneficial. But other than that, yeah, I'm not saying that at all anybody does anything better than me, because that's not the correct way to move forward with life. I stay in my lane, you guys stay in your lane, and sometimes our lanes cross and you need me or I need you. And, that's the great thing about the paranormal.
Right.
Sorry, someone's having a little tantrum here.
It's all right. My kid was having a tantrum too, and it's all right. I have a 7 and 2-year-old, so I understand it.
I got a 2-year-old. Terrible twos, man. They suck, don't they?
Hey, man. My 7-year-old's a lot more difficult. I love him to death, and he's the two best things I've ever had in my life. But oh man, it's a roller coaster ride when they get older.
Yes, absolutely, it is. So when we're talking about things that you do on, and we'll get a little into your demonology and some history of Rhode Island here soon, but when it comes to being on an investigation, are there any specific methods that you have used, perhaps the Estes method or something like that during an investigation to help you out?
I don't perform the Estes method or use spirit boxes in private investigations, to be honest with you. I think the Estes method is great in a sense, but I also think it could be fallible in the sense that, some people are hearing things through the spirit box while blindfolded, and they're interpreting it a certain way. Same thing as a spirit box. I've met a lot of investigators that don't record their spirit box sessions. And I think it's really bad not to do so, because I've done tests.
That's a very important thing there.
Yeah, I've done tests myself where, I sometimes play coy, right? So in the sense, like I've done a lot of in-person studies with people because I like the research and I like the scientific method. So I like looking at variables and I like looking at what can change a variable. So, in spirit box sessions, I have heard something. I said, did you hear that? It said gold, but I'd actually hear gold. And everyone's like, yeah, I heard gold. I heard gold. But it didn't say that, right? So I relayed them to believe something was being said. So I don't tend to use something that can be misinterpreted. Like I'll mainly in cases, private investigations, I'll use a digital recorder, sometimes still an analog recorder. Like I said, videography, photography, and really, and then time to time, if I really feel it in need, I will use a medium that I have tested in cases where I haven't told them anything. I knew all the data. They didn't know where they were going. I picked them up. I brought them to a location. And they picked up verbatim most of the details that were relayed to me by the client. So time to time, I will use a medium or a clairvoyant or clairsentient or somebody that has that extra sensory perception. And we'll utilize them to kind of formulate what I've gathered from the client to what maybe I've gathered in data, if anything at all, to kind of paint a picture. So that's the routes I tend to take, and the mediums that I work with don't verbatimly say, "Oh, there's a spirit, I see it." They write everything in journals, and then I read them. They're not actually relaying this to the client. They're relaying it to me through journal. I have write on everything down, so it doesn't sway the client's perception of what's going on, because they might not pick anything up at all, or they might pick up something dark. And I don't want the client knowing that, because I don't want the client to be scared. I'm there to comfort them, and I'm there to kind of relieve some of their stress and anxiety. But yeah, so but as far as the Estes method, I have used that stuff. I've used probably a lot of the methodology that's used out there in the paranormal field. But like I said, it's more utilized in the sense of venues or public investigations. Sometime if it's a private investigation, like at something that I rent out, then we will play those. That's where I usually implement a lot of that stuff, because I want to play with it. I want to see verbatim what it can enact for data. Some of it, yes, has garnished. I knew Frank Sumpsis, the creator of the Frank's box. And I'm still on the fence of spirit boxes. I've had some great data from it, but I've also had a lot of junk from it as well. So I do play with a lot of the methodology out there, but private investigations, I keep it simple. Like, one of the crazy things that I do, like I've been in construction over 10 years. I will check the levels of floors. I will check for infiltration of air. I will check for bad venting. I will check for bad plumbing. I will check all that stuff. If there's rodents or squirrels that are able to get into the house, maybe that's creating the noise. If there's a black mold, I will tend to check all that stuff more so in a private investigation, in a client investigation than anywhere else. That's more what I would implement in those situations. Then, in a public investigation, I still look at those things, but I don't necessarily call them out. Like if I see a plethora of black mold on the ceiling and we're all in that room, and then we start experiencing things, maybe we were hallucinating, who the frick knows? But you have to be around it for a long time. But if you're constantly there, the ability for respiratory issues or hallucinations or even psychological issues can come at play. But so those are things that you still acknowledge and view in those situations. But yeah, it's like night and day between a client investigation and something public or even private with just a bunch of friends or even a team for like mock training.
Absolutely. And this one is a very big one within the field, and it should be important to a lot of people. What is your take on debunking? It's a huge thing.
Yeah, I basically just gave you a bunch of things about debunking.
I was going to say that, yep.
That's my analytical thinking, right? I'm always critical to what people say, and not in a bad way. Like, I won't question them in a bad way, but in a pharmacology sense, what medicines are they taking? What could that elicit? The natural surroundings. What could that elicit? What is the communication between the family? Is there strife in the family? So yeah, I'm big in debunking, because especially in a client situation, because in the respect, I don't want to give false information to the people that are asking me for my help. If they ask me for help, I'm going to give them help the right way. And I'm not going to feed into their story. I'm not going to intertwine into their spider web and then give them what they want to hear. That's not what you're calling in when you call me in. I'm not there to play your fiddle. I'm there to give you the facts to the degree I can. Now, if there's a haunting going on, then of course, then I will say, yeah, there's something going on. It's hard to figuratively get down to the nitty gritty of what it is, because ghosts are still speculative. They're still theoretical, right? We don't know what a ghost is made of, if a ghost exists at all. It could be collective consciousness with anchoring and tethering of emotions. That's another theory that people think of the metaphysical realm, or the quantum physics realm, like string theory and all that stuff. Maybe dimensions overlapping. So there's a lot of different things you have to kind of look at, and especially in the paranormal field. I'm also very big into cryptozoology, ufology. I've called MUFON on two of my cases because I felt it was out of my wheelhouse and more towards theirs. So that's something that I do. I look at the wider spectrum of things. I piece the puzzle together, and to the best of my ability, of course. But yeah, no, that's just my methodology. It's different, but like I said, and all the other things, I don't quintessentially do that. I don't want to make it boring for the people that are coming to a public investigation. But privates, more clientele. I can't say privates because that it could elicit a team thing, but a client situation, there's different levels.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense at all.
Oh, of course, yeah. Okay, so let's move into the concept of your demonology. What are the concepts of demonology? What all do you cover? Do you do what do I say? What's the word? Where you're trying to get a spirit out of somebody. What is that word?
An exorcism?
Exorcism. So have you ever done one of those? Is that something that you do? What does this demonology entail?
So, I would like to say an exorcist is a demonologist. The demonologist is not an exorcist, right? Father Bob is not an exorcist. He's a deliverance minister with the Roman Catholic Church. He does deliverances. He can do minor rites of exorcism, which is over a house, which is ridding demonic infestation from a household. I have to some degree as well done deliverances, which is basically delivering a lesser form of a demon out of somebody, if it's oppression or if there's infestation, a deliverance over a home. But as far as the demonologist, what it entails is, I like to call it the mediator, right? So here's the client, here's the church, which entails the exorcist and bishop. I'm the middle line, right? So what I will do is I will take applicable academic theological research for thousands of years and apply that into a physical applied sense. I'm an applied demonologist, but I'm also very eclectic. I've studied multiple different probably every religion that's ever existed in humankind. But I take all that conceived data of historical context, theological context, cultural context, and then I apply it to a person's situation. I will then take everything that I've learned about what demons are, or evil spirits, or even benign spirits. I will take all that, and then I will apply it and view it through that lens, and then formulate a kind of formulate what's kind of going on. But if I do feel like it's something negative in the sense of, or malignant in the sense of a demon, there will be data. It will be very hard to get, but you can get this through observation. You can get this through EVPs. You can get this through feeling. But the one thing that it is very important for me to get the Catholic Church involved in the sense of an exorcist, I have to have conceivable data. So for two, if they're claiming possession, which is a big thing for a lot of people in my field, I will have them get a physical by a primary care physician. I will also have them get a psychological assessment done by a psychologist or psychiatrist to make sure that nothing fits into the DSM-5, where this can say, okay, they have schizophrenia, bipolar, manic episodes, or psychosis. And I will rule those things out. And the data that I collect and observation and feelings and all that stuff will be, passed along to the church. And then the church, if they feel privy, they will get involved, and they will, of course, bring an exorcist involved. So that's what a demonologist is. It's a lot of education in the sense of demonic lore, evil spirits in general. Demonology is a branch off of angelology, which is off a theology branch. So I have to understand angels. I have to understand religions. I have to understand social science, aka my psychology background. So there's a lot of things I have to understand to discern. So that's basically what I do as a demonologist. It is a fancy term, but it's not exciting work. It's a lot of research, a lot of dealing with people's personal and spiritual issues. And like I said, I coined it as a mediator, and it's a perfect term for it because I am mediating between two different parties. And sometimes I don't mediate towards the third party, such as the church. Sometimes I can handle it myself and then guide them down the right necessary paths. I can do cleansings and deliverances myself due to my past ordinations and my past trainings on so sometimes that I will just do it myself if I feel either A, there is something there, something I can truthfully, honestly handle without my ego getting the best of me, or two, I can incite the placebo effect on them, and I know that something such as this can make them better again, healthy again, beyond my visit. So that's what a demonologist is. I can get more into it. It's been a topic of discussion for thousands of years of, King James really what famously coined the term demonology through his book, King James Demonology. But it's a very interesting field. There's a lot of people interested in it and want to be in it. But it's not entertaining. I always say, even though I am a demonologist and you feel like as a scientist wants to do multiple different studies and researches and applied lab studies, when it comes to demons, like I'm thankful every single day that I do not come across one. It's not because I don't think I can handle it with my level of faith or the people that I have surrounded with me, but I'm thankful for it because it is like a soap opera, right? A lot of drama, a lot of emotions involved, and that does come into my life as well. And if there's something really malignant there, it could intertwine into my life and affect me or my family or my friends. So I'm thankful every single day that I'll come across one. It's been many years since I've come across a true case. So that is something that I always say for people that call themselves demonologists and that they're always spewing the word demon out there. Statistically, I've only come across 1% in my caseload, right? And I've gone over 500 plus cases in my time frame, and the only reason I have a rough number is because I have case files in my file cabinet. So, like, it's like 1% of that is only demonic in my nomenclature, right? Somebody might also have dealt with those cases, and then there might be their outlook, their viewpoint.
There's something outside. Even
after I ate too many of them, and my stomach was.
Can you get the dog out? But yeah, so like somebody might have a different outlook on it, and I have a different perception of it.
Sure.
Sorry for all the noise. Crazy.
You're good. You're good. But I mean, I've had a few other demonologists on the show before, and it seems like that you're the most knowledgeable when it comes to demonology because, I could walk outside right now and call myself a demonologist. I don't know what the heck I'm doing when it comes to demonology. I am, I can absolutely call myself a paranormal investigator. I wouldn't say expert. I'm not an expert, but you know, there's a lot that, like you said, there's a lot that comes with demonology, and you need to know, you need to have a lot of knowledge about it and everything. So, you're definitely the most knowledgeable when it comes to demonology.
Well, I
So,
appreciate that. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
for
no
sure.
accreditation for it, right? So it's a wild west of people and calling themselves certain things. And I don't like to speak out and point fingers at people, but at the same time, when you're coining yourself that, and then you're doing danger to people, I do have a problem with that because you like I said, you might feel like you're doing the right thing, but you might be causing more mayhem than you think. But I appreciate that. And like one thing I will say about demonologists is what you can do. There are fundamentally 5 or 6 or 7 of them out there that are very well known, very well versed, very intelligent. And you can ask one of them what they think of me, or if they know me, or if they know about that other person. And if they don't, that tends to be a bad sign, because usually, even though we don't really all work together as like a conclave, we all have at some point worked together. Our friends, we communicate about our cases, communicate about our experiences, learn from each other. So you can reach out to people like that, and a lot of them are very well known in the sense, like a Keith Johnson, Nathaniel Gillis, and so on and so on. And you can reach out to those people, ask for reference. And that's one of the things that I say, that one day before I leave this plane of existence, that I will make it somewhat reliable and legitimate. And I will have some sort of conclave or some sort of group that will be a bunch of demonologists that are very well respected, connected to churches, and they will mediate the future demonologist. Like, if you don't go through us, it's not the end all be all. We can't do that. But if you don't go through us, then you have to be wary of where they're learning from, or what they're doing. If they come from our conclave and learn from us, you can then kind of somewhat respect them and understand that they have a basis of knowledge from 7, 8, or 9, or 10 people that are well respected, have that commonality of intelligence, and really do help people as best as they can. So one day I will have that. I do plan to write like a demonology tome. I'm going for my master's degree next, and for my dissertation paper, as long as I'm allowed, God given by my mentor, I'm going to write a paper on it and the correlation to mental illness, and then I will spin that into a bigger book, which I feel like will help the future interestees in the field of demonology. Marcus, you muted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just trying to get my daughter to leave me alone here. So, because if she don't, then it'll keep going and going. But yeah, most definitely. So, let's kind of detour into the subject of the history of Rhode Island now. So what makes Rhode Island a haunted state?
Whoa, man, that is a loaded question, because it is, as many people know, one of the first 13 colonies, 13 states of this union now that we call the United States of America. I don't want to butcher the history because I'm not a historian, but I will say that as young as America is, Rhode Island predates that to the 1600s, late 1600s, if not even a little bit tad earlier, between Native American history, Native American wars, the French Indian War, King Philip's War. Gosh, there's so much to name. We have a lot of illustrious haunted locations, such as the Conjuring House, which is famously known because of the movie. We have Rams in Jamestown. We have Slater Mill, which was the first cotton mill in America, which has been known to have deaths because they instituted child labor back then, and accidents did happen. Gosh, the list can go on of the places that we have, the history that we have that could formulate that emotion. We have legends like Edgar Allan Poe that visited here. H.P. Lovecraft kind of brought science fiction to a whole nother level, and horror and true crime. So like we have one of the first vampiric legends in Rhode Island with Mercy Brown. They've said that we have one of the first few spots that the Vikings landed here, in Newport, the Newport Tower. So there's just so much stuff in Rhode Island, in a little state that is 45 minutes to get from top to bottom. There's so much stuff. And
is that really how small it is? I was wondering.
I say 45 minutes because that's what I can do. For a normal average person, I'd say an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 20 minutes. But I'm a speed racer. So it's about 45, 50 minutes from top to bottom, correct? Yeah, right now, like I live at almost the northern point of Rhode Island, and I'm almost at the southern point of Rhode Island in Kingston right now. And it takes 40 minutes to get here. So then you have a little bit of more of a point near towards Westerly, which is famously known now for Taylor Swift, to Pawtucket, where Slater Mill is. But yeah, it's about an hour, to be honest, hour, like I said, hour 10, hour 20, anywhere in that time frame from 45 to hour and 20 minutes, depending on the driver. But yeah, that's how little it is, man.
That is crazy because back in May of 2023, I took a trip to Iowa, and it was like a 6-hour drive to get to to Washington, Iowa. It was 6 hours. However, once I got to the Iowa border, I had about 2 hours left. Okay, so that tells you I'm in central Minnesota.
Okay.
So it took about 4 hours to exit half of Minnesota.
And Minnesota's a decent sized state, like compared to us for sure. And Iowa's big too. Like I love Iowa. I've investigated quite a bit out there in the Des Moines area. But yeah, no, man. Yeah, Rhode Island's tiny, but it's a tiny state with so much history, so many, I say haunted locations. Of course, that's up to your interpretation. But a lot of locations that will give a paranormal investigator a really, really good fun time. There's a lot of hidden gems out here too that I've had the pleasure to investigate and try to get on the map. We have one of the only Gothic Victorian mansions in the country in Rhode Island called the Clouds Hill. It's a beautiful destination. But there's just so much, man. Like, I'm not saying other states don't have it. Massachusetts has quite a lot too. Connecticut, quite a bit too. New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. Maine, I would say more than New Hampshire and Vermont, because Maine is, the grounds of Stephen King. But yeah, no, Rhode Island, man. I always tell people, if you're a paranormal investigator, and if you do come out here, I've done this for many, many people. You let me know in advance. I'll set a week or a day or a couple of days. And I will bring you to. I don't know if we can investigate them, but I will even take you, because some of these places won't allow you. But I can take you on a tour of all the places, and you can do things on the ground. The cemeteries we have are old too. Some predate back to the 1700s that are marked. So like, oh man, there's just so much. I love Rhode Island because of that. Rhode Island also has great seafood and a great culture, but being a paranormal investigator, it's a gold mine out here.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin, so we have it similar to that, but not intense as that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to the First Ward School out there in Wisconsin. Great location. And I'm also a big Green Bay Packer fan, so, I love Wisconsin.
Vikings, baby. No.
Funny story to tell you, not to get off too, but my aunt is from Minnesota. She lived, I can't think of like an hour out of Minneapolis. And she used to send me Vikings. I hate the color purple, mind you. That's haunted because of Barney. But she used to send me Viking stuff all the time. And one of my favorite colors is green. My favorite color for the longest time was green. Now I like red, but green. So when she used to send me all this stuff, I said to my grandfather, my great aunt, which is his sister, I said to him, "What team is green? I want to start wearing green stuff. I hate this purple stuff." So he's like, "The Green Bay Packers." So they bought me a shirt. And then I became, and that was the time of Brett Favre. So I was in the time of Era the Gunslinger. So I was like, ever since then, I've been a big Packers fan. But that's a funny story because she used to send me Viking stuff all the time. And I was like, this is nasty. This purple.
I think this concludes our show tonight. No, very cool. Very cool. So it's nice to hear that you're like kind of affiliated with this side of the country too. So yeah, that's cool.
I travel east to the West Coast, my man. Like I said, free of charge. So I've been and this is not the boast, but I've been everywhere. And I've been thankful for it too. So.
Man, I have only been in a select handful of states. That's it. I'd love to visit a lot more for sure, but I've only been in like your general Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. That sums it up right there. So
I will say though, my favorite location, two of them, are in Massachusetts. One that I'm hosting an event June 1st, their first family investigation. But it is the USS Salem, which is a heavy cruiser, and then the SK Pierce House, the Victorian Mansion up in Gardner, Massachusetts. One of my favorite locations. Rhode Island has a lot of great locations, but I prefer those two over many of those. And then, of course, another one's like in Pennsylvania, which is Selma Mansion, Norristown. But as much as Rhode Island's a gold mine, a lot of my favorites are outside of the state, unfortunately, because I've had a lot of, especially the USS Salem. Anytime you go on that ship, there is activity, and usually it's audible, so if people don't know what audible means, it's hearable by the naked ear, so you can hear it without a recorder. And usually that tends to happen on that ship pretty frequently, and that's why I would say it's one of my if not my number one. It probably is my number one, but my number one location because it just never disappoints. You can expect to be going there and having a disappointing night, but something always happens.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's. We're getting closer to the end of our show here because we have so much great knowledge and stuff here. But before we wrap up tonight, what is coming up next for you guys? What are you guys working on? Anything exciting that you want people to know about yet?
Well, yeah, PWSM just got recently rejuvenated. It was a group that has been around for a while, but it lay dormant because Father Bob took a back step for the paranormal field due to health issues. And he had at that point, he had a parish. Now he's retired. So, he doesn't have a parish anymore, and he can now do it again and travel and help people without taking it away from his community. But, so PWSM's back. We're trying to get out there grassroots, for people that need help in our region or even outside of our region, reach out to us, pwsm.org or Presidio Morgues of St. Michael on Facebook. So that's a big thing that we have going on right now. We have quite a few events coming up. We have an event, me and my girlfriend, Beanie Medium, have an event Monday at the Shanley Hotel in New York. We're doing an education get together led by the group called Caspers. And then the following week on May 11th, I'm a guest at the White Hill Parafest at the White Hill Mansion in New Jersey. And then the list goes on and on. June 1st, USS Salem Family Night, children and parents, for a child and parent ticket, together combined is $65. So you get two people in for $65, which usually is the price of one ticket for most investigations. Within that range, $45 to $65. And all the money goes back to the location. Anytime I do an event, all the money goes back to the location. I never take a dime. So yeah, those are the three coming up very soon. And other than that, you can follow me on Facebook, James Annitto, and you can get regularly updated on my events coming up, where WSM will be. And if you do need help, and then this also is for you, Marcus, and All American co-host, but. I do give my number out. Just be respectable, because if you need help, I understand it's hard to get through the internet sometimes. So it's 401-808-7416. Just be respectable. If you disrespect me, I disrespect you. That's what I have coming up. Follow me. If you're in help, call me, text me, and I'm here to help you.
Sounds good, man. And I do have those links down below. Anybody wants to give them a follow, go down below, click the link, hit follow, and keep up to date with everything that James and his team has going on. So, James, we appreciate you coming on the All American Paranormal Tour. We have just a handful of states left. We're almost at the end. We're trying to complete a thing that no other team has done in the field. Or not investigating, but podcasting in each of the states. So far it's been a success, but it's been a challenge as well. So as you see at the bottom there, your episode number 36. So we've done 36 states so far. So
awesome.
Exactly 1 year ago, a couple of days ago, we opened up season 4. So it's been a wild ride this past year with this show. So
yeah.
But we appreciate you being one of our guests for the All American Paranormal Tour. And it's an open door. If you want to come back, you're more than welcome to.
I would love to. And I appreciate you having me as the Rhode Island investigator. And it's a great honor. And I would definitely love to come back. And you have season 5 and get past this big journey you guys are on. And that's awesome. I can't wait to watch most of them. I have to watch most of them. And I bet there's a lot of people and a lot of good knowledge that has been divulged throughout all the states so far.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to take you quite a while. There's 36 regular shows and about 2 or 3 bonus shows. So there's some hours involved into watching this season. We have 3 other seasons. 2 are available on YouTube. 1's available on Spreaker. So if you want to watch our entire series, get comfortable. And then we're going to have, we have 2, which way do our logo? If you want to watch investigations, you can see those on our YouTube as well. Which I believe the link is below if you're curious, want to watch us investigate, because I'm definitely going to be watching you and your team. It's going to be fantastic. So, yeah, but anybody here interested in James, what he does and his team and all that, go below, click the links, show some love, follow, whatever you got to do. James, we appreciate having you on the show. And like I said, look forward to having you back for season 5. So
I look forward to it.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night. Thanks, and keep in touch.
Thank you guys as well.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, guys, that was James Annitto from Rhode Island, the Ocean State. Very small state. It's fantastic to know that it takes an hour to get through Rhode Island. That's just crazy. Very, very small state. I believe it's the smallest one in the country. But I'm sure it's packed full of paranormal activity. And based off of what James said tonight, kind of sounds like it is. So But anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed the show, and definitely come and visit us again next Saturday night at 6 p.m. while we visit the state of Massachusetts. It's going to be a great show as well. So come visit us at 6 p.m. Central next Saturday in the state of Massachusetts. Check out our sponsors, Dubby Energy, Schneider Customs, TNS. No, not TNS. Provoke Paranormal. And yeah, that's all I got for you. So until next week, we'll see you guys then. Hope you guys have a good night. Happy hunting.